Okay, so I'll start. So for me this year, my understanding of my role in anti-racism education has changed a lot. I thought, like, the first thing I thought of when I read that question was this episode on the Teaching While White podcast. Um, No Neutral Zone was the name of it. And basically, it equated being neutral with being silent. And that is not the educator that I want to be. And so I think that has helped in my new understanding of what my role is. Next question. So the problem that I kind of focused on solving this year and trying to figure out new ways to solve is, how do I use PBL to harness collectivism in my classroom? And how do I move my students from, thinking only about themselves and that circle, to understanding the interconnectedness of us all. And so this year, so for 9B, our main text is Just Mercy by Brian Stevenson. So it fit really nicely into this question, because in order to fully engage with the text, you have to empathize. And the idea is that you learn some compassion and mercy. And so I tried, my entryways into that were through essential questions. So we focused on what is justice and how do we repair harm. So throughout the book, we asked and answered these questions while we were listening to podcasts or reading short stories. They all kind of focused in some way on these questions, and getting students to see also that these are topics that we see and need to see in everyday life and respond to. So what worked well and what didn't work well, I'm going to kind of all put that in the same part, because I think that's where my big learning came from. So voice and choice for sure always works. So I just feel like I didn't give enough of it. And then I missed one step, but I'm working on it. So for voice and choice, the ending step for my PBL last trimester, which was the whole try, right? And at the very end, I had them pick from, I had given them 3 different situations where a harm was done, not a physical harm, but three different situations where a harm was done, and their job was to answer a set of questions that we'd kind of created throughout the trimester. Answer these questions in any format they want. So, and they did great. They did PowerPoints and videos and live Zoom presentation. I mean, they did everything completely right for what I gave them. And so what I noticed in their presentations, and they noticed too, because they were actually going beyond where I gave them, that was the end. And the problem I realized and talked with my team about after was that they noticed what I needed to get them to. So even in their presentations of these individual harms and who they impacted, and how those harms might have, even began in the first place, they noticed that these harms didn't happen, alone. They noticed that there were probably in each one of them some policies, procedures, some cultures at schools that allowed these harms to take place. And so my next step that I realized I needed to add, which I am doing this trimester, is adding, this part is really the first part. So after they analyze the harm, then they're going to analyze how the harm happened. What were those things in place that enabled this harm? Then they're going to create some change about this thing. So at that point, they're going to brainstorm and figure out like what is the best way um, to affect change on this thing so these future harms won't happen. So I guess basically I've learned to give them more choice and more like authentic impact and audience. Um, and that has been like my biggest takeaway. The I did not write this correctly because I realized my biggest weakest link is really I'm struggling with a part of PBL is like bringing in, and I think a part of creating a great anti-racist classroom is bringing in experts and in the field and bringing in different people who can, mentor and educate our kids in different ways. And I'm definitely missing that. And that's something that I want to explore next. All right. Thank you so much. I hope this helped, and let me know if you have any questions.